Supreme Magus, Web Novel, Chapter 128, Contingencies. You'll not regret your choice, Lith. Professor Marth patted his back, with a proud look on his face. Once you graduate, you'll discover that a rank mages, like you and me, are treasured almost as rank S, if not more. He chuckled. What? Why? Lith didn't know if to consider it a good or bad news. Because as you have seen, geniuses like Manoar aren't just brilliant. They are also willful, fickle and unpredictable. We may not be as productive, but are much more level-headed and easy to handle. After the accident in the training hall, Professor Rudd had lost much of his nastiness. He now replied when someone asked him explanations, and whenever he saw Kyla or Lith, he would sigh deeply, shaking his head. In the following weeks, Lith put his heart and soul in forge mastering, relentlessly pestering Professor Wainmeyer with questions. He was researching both the runes that kept the boxes locked and a construct that was able to feel like a human. The library helped him greatly on his first task. Even if the exact sequence of runes wasn't to be found anywhere, Lith was able to determine their power and purpose. He came to the conclusion that opening at least one of the boxes was feasible, if he had Wainmeyer level of mastery and a proper research team. Since that was impossible, he decided to take a roundabout route. Instead of attacking the lock from the outside, like a normal forge master, he would destroy its pseudo-core like only an awakened one could. The lock and the box had a pseudo-core each, both held in place by the respective mana pathways their maker had surrounded them with, thanks to the rune patterns. The main difference between a pseudo-core and a real mana core was that the former had no way to replenish its energies without the mage that had imprinted it. Hence, if somehow Lith managed to damage the pathways, the energy stored in the pseudo-core was supposed to leak without triggering the explosion, and the lock spell would be undone. Before doing this kind of experiments, Lith would always use his hush spell and several barriers, to prevent a resulting explosion to destroy his room or be noticed from the outside. After a month since the beginning of the second semester, Lith had already lost 3 boxes. All of them had exploded without leaving any trace behind, but he still considered it a success. Neither he or his belongings had suffered any damage, and with each box the explosion was getting weaker. It was only a matter of time before Lith could find the right way to puncture the runic pathways without the pseudo-core becoming unstable. Now I get why the vision wanted me to save Nock and get to meet Kala. The small BYK and its mother. With only the box from Rodimus, I would have never managed to open it. I could either give it to the Marchioness or Linhos, leaving me empty-handed, or try and fail on my own. He sighed. Well, for being self-taught you are doing great. Marth and Wainmeyer always praise you for your talent and achievements. I think Wainmeyer already considers you the best student of the 4th year. Yeah, he sighed again. Someone is bound to get angry at me, again. Not to mention that I am falling behind in dimensional magic. Without the all-nighters, even Uriel is slowly catching up with me, and I have yet to learn the restoration spell, that Kyla already knows. I must work harder. Maybe it's because Kyla has only 1 specialization, while Uriel just 2, and they are hardworking too. You, instead, are such a slacker. Solus' voice was oozing sarcasm. Top of both your official specializations, learning other specializations on your own and converting them into true magic. All this while working on that lock, researching a body for me and refining your mana core during your spare time. Which usually means when you are forced to use a bathroom or during theoretical lessons. You don't sleep from almost a month. Honestly, I'm amazed you achieved so much with only 24 hours a day. Progress, not perfection. Remember, you need to slow down. Can't do. The second trimester's exam is nearing, and no one knows what's going to be about. Must make every second matter. Since the explosion of Korn Hatorn's alchemic laboratory, the city of Candria had quickly plunged into mass hysteria. Just a few days after the event, strange diseases and murders had started to happen all around the city, and with the passing of time, things had only got worse. Healers from all the Marquisate and beyond had been called for help, but despite both the Crown and the Mage Association were sparing no expenses to get at the root of the problem, they were getting nowhere. An information blackout had been enacted, to avoid the panic to spread outside the city borders. Those who knew about the phenomenon talked about a mysterious plague haunting the province of Candria, and were worried about it spreading. The body count had already reached the hundreds, and with each passing day more and more cases arose, forcing the Crown to declare the status of quarantine 2 weeks after the start of the outbreak. Whoever tried to get in or out the city would be executed on the spot. The whole region had been enveloped by an array that prevented flying spells and warp steps to work. Silpha, Queen of the Griffin Kingdom and Supreme Head of the Mage Association, was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. She hadn't slept properly since the Old Nobles' rebellion had started, and now with the unsolved mystery of the plague, she felt she was losing her mind. The Queen hadn't missed how the current predicament had occurred right after Arjun went missing in action. The problem was determining how the 2 events were related. Knowing Arjun's prowess, she suspected it was all the work of an awakened one. It was impossible for a member of the corps to be killed by conventional means during a simple recognition mission. Also, the fact that the best minds of the kingdom were still clueless, was proof enough it wasn't something fake magic could achieve. Her problem was that aside from the members of the corps, the Crown had no awakened ones, and Lady Tyrus refused to train more than 7 at a time. The remaining 6 members were already engaged in life or death situations, otherwise she would have never recalled Arjun so soon. The rescue teams were still looking for him under the lab's debris, but so far nothing had come out. Out of desperation, she took out her communication amulet, trying to reach for Krishna Manohar, the god of healing. He was the best healer of the kingdom, and her last hope. Aside from a magical plague, it could have been the effect of an ancient artifact. Such powerful weapon, if it even existed, once found had to remain a secret, and that was the reason why she had kept him as a last resort. That man was a loose cannon, discretion and reliability weren't his strong suits. The amulet gave no response, even after multiple attempts. Having no time for his antics, Silpha called Linhos, instead, demanding for Manohar's whereabouts and the reason of his unavailability. I would never dare to disobey a direct order of yours, Your Majesty, but alas, your first request is beyond me. Even I do not know where he is. As for the second, I think you wouldn't believe me without hearing it from the horse's mouth. The headmaster took a piece of paper and placed it on the amulet's gem, allowing the queen to read its content. Dear Linhos, the name was followed by a doodle depicting a horse bearing a striking resemblance to the headmaster, even wearing his clothes. I'm on the verge of an incredible magical breakthrough, and can't risk my research to be ruined by the constant pestering of mediocre minds, so I'll be gone for a while. KM. How dares he to disappear again? It's already the third time this year. Silpha punched her desk hard enough to break it in half. Send me your second best diagnostician. If she doesn't solve my problem, I'll have your head beside Manohar's in my trophy room.